Welcome to the Long Shot Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Amber Kenny, alongside one of your other hosts, Sean Conroy.
Hello.
And mixing it up, we've got a very special guest with us.
Very special.
Karen Baughn. Hello.
Who's this lady?
How do you know us? What's going on?
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I'm a Zoom hacker.
Putting all of the onus on you.
Explain yourself.
You know, like on other podcasts, they kind of like list a couple of your credits and they like
Not interested.
And welcome. Oh,
Get started.
Great. So I'll do it myself. I know Amber because we were on a sketch team called the Truce back at IO West in those days.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Do you guys get along?
We don't need
got
a
along
truce.
with
He
her.
wants to just make a truce joke.
Well, then there was that time where we were at odds with each other for a while.
Right.
I think our name should be this. I think our name should be this. Guys, please.
The whole fight was about the names.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. I did a terrible job introducing, but Karen is an incredibly talented actor, like character performer, different voices, a great writer, and an all-around amazing person to be around. And I think she has a relationship to you.
No,
as well,
now I'm
Sean.
excited to be here
Yeah, welcome.
after all that.
Well, separately, I know Sean, like tangentially from like UCB, seeing him around, and then I took his pilot writing class.
Yes. And wrote a pilot that was one of my favorites of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the enthusiasm.
Yeah. You know how I like to get carried away. No, I'm trying to remember. It was about San Quentin.
Close.
It was about what's the name of it? It's a prison. It's
Alcatraz.
yes,
There
that's
you
what
go.
it was.
I got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Bit over. Yeah, so I kind of know both of you, and
But
I
separately,
like both of you very much.
You've never interacted with us together.
Oh, isn't that
so-
wild? No, I haven't.
Well, that's not completely true.
Well, we were all in a room at your birthday party,
Yes.
Yeah.
but we didn't stand in a trio and talk.
During
Right, we
a
weren't
brief
holding hands.
interval of COVID lack or something. Somehow it was okay
felt
to go to your
safe
house
for
that
half a
night.
second,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
And we
after
all
that it was
wore mustard.
It was my mustard party.
Right. It was where I walked in and it was very overwhelming because I just saw a blur of yellow everywhere and I didn't know how to individuate people.
No.
But luckily Karen was there, so I got to talk to her for a while.
And we all had our white kabuki masks on.
Right. It was a very scary party.
And we were angling our heads towards each other.
Well, we like to start the show with a segment we like to call Checking In.
Checking in.
So, Sean, what's going on with you?
Oh, as you pointed out in a text to me earlier today was kind of my Superbowl. Big day in the history of the country. It was the first day today of the January 6th committee hearings. So I was watching that this afternoon or I guess this evening and kind of, getting upset all over again. It was a little overwhelming because you kind of want to think, oh, I already know everything there is to know about it. But you don't. And there was a lot of stuff that came out tonight that was, it won't make any difference, right? We've all heard that a million times. No one cares. No one wants to know about it. Anybody who cares already knows and feels the way they feel and whatever. But that was just interesting to see.
Did you have like a favorite, in air quotes, horrible new piece of information that you learned?
What's your
Oh yeah, you know what I thought was great?
or like like it stuck out to you. It was notable.
Well, I guess there's all kinds of stuff that's happening that
stuff.
I always know stuff. But like I haven't completely thought it through, and then stuff comes out and you're like, oh, this has significance. Like, for example, it has been a talking point all this time that Trump just had this rally and he wanted to talk to people, and it
was like a coincidence.
He had nothing to do with it. One thing led to another. Mm-hmm. And maybe we already knew this, but maybe I'm hearing it for the first time. I don't even know anymore. But in the testimony tonight, there was a group of individuals. Oh, I know what my favorite thing is. I just thought of it, but we'll get to that in a second. There was a group of individuals who are very, they're very proud of themselves, and they're all boys.
The Proud Boys.
Yes, they're Proud Boys.
Which is such a funny thing to name yourself. Like, it sounds like
it's based on
a little boy who's turned in his homework.
It's based on the song from Aladdin, I think. I think that's where they got the name.
A proud new boy.
Well, I don't know any of the songs from that. But anyway, I think they did take the name from a song in the musical Aladdin. And it's ironic. I mean, that's the whole thing with this meme culture, internet culture. It's ironic, right? But the Proud Boys show up to the Capitol because Trump is doing this speech. And they had two witnesses who spoke at the hearing. One of them was a cop who got knocked unconscious immediately in the riots, a woman. At the very first breaching of those big, I don't know what you call them, the barricade fences. We've all seen the clip a million times. I guess I didn't really realize that she'd been knocked unconscious, but you can see it when you watch it in slow motion that she is just out as soon as her head hits the steps. And then she talked about how she got up and she got back into the whole thing, and she was like slipping in people's blood. I mean, it was horrific. But the other witness was a documentary filmmaker who had been embedded with some of these boys who are so proud of themselves.
And the Oath Keepers.
And yes. And he talked about how he went with this group of Proud Boys and he was confused. I forget exactly how he said it, but he was like, he was confused because they didn't go to Trump's rally. They went straight to the Capitol, which is significant to me because it means they never had any intention of listening to Trump speak. They knew what the plan was, and the plan was we're going into the fucking building and we're taking over. Right. And I think that is the important thing that's going to come out. Or maybe it's already out and nobody cares and we all know, and it's not going to help the Democrats in the midterms, and the Republicans are going to sweep it, and then Trump's going to win again in 2024. All that stuff is a given. But
let's not give that. No.
The idea that there was a plan to go in and do this violence. No, it wasn't like
who got we should
away. Go down there. Hey,
like let's they happen go to have these zip ties.
Yeah. Gary, go get your gallows out of the trunk. They're saying hang Mike Pence. Like, that's another thing. Who started that chant? That's not a random chant that you just chant.
Right.
Right. Like, let's hang this guy, and then somebody has a gallows and a noose. It's lucky they didn't start going guillotine Mike Pence, and then there's a gallows there, and they're like, "Oh, this is a fuck up." Yeah,
guillotine's harder to chant, I guess.
Guillotine Mike Pence. Guillotine Mike Pence.
I think we could do it.
But my favorite new piece of information was they had a guy there who I think was a lawyer, but he was an investigative lawyer who had been talking to lots of people, and he testified on video. The videos they produced were really well done. And this guy was just talking about, very matter of fact, very dryly laying out, this is what happened. This is where, and they would show him, and then they would show clips of what he was talking about. One of the things he talked about was there was a stack of these individuals, and I think they were Oath Keepers, not Proud Boys, who went up the Capitol steps. And we've all seen that footage of the military stack, all the people in camo garb with their hands on the shoulders of the people in front of them.
Is that what a stack means?
It's like it's like a military formation, and they're all going up the steps together as a group, and that they've shown a million times. But he said that there were two stacks. One group was doing this, and the other stack headed into the Capitol to find Nancy Pelosi. Like, they know that was their objective, was to find Nancy Pelosi. They did not succeed, obviously, but that was the intention. We are going to go in and we are going to find Nancy Pelosi. And that is so fucking chilling that these people had the mission of going in. And what's crazy about that too is that the whole right-wing media frenzy is that this all happened because it's Pelosi's fault. She's the one who was in charge of security that day.
Right.
So apparently she got her wires crossed because
she's like, I want them to kill me.
I think they should come in and get me. Come and get me. Come and get me.
Well, and like the whole Antifa of it all.
That stuff. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I did turn on that idiot, the blonde idiot on Fox. Boy, that narrows it down, huh? No, Laura Ingraham was talking about who knows what the fuck she was saying. And then I saw a clip. I literally saw a clip of Sean Hannity right after the hearing wraps up. And Hannity goes, the only one who looks good here is President Trump. And so that's where we are. We're a divided country. What are we going to do? We're divided. We have different opinions about things. Your opinion is different from my opinion, is different from Steve's opinion, is different from Bob's opinion, and everybody's opinion is different.
Bob's opinion is wrong.
Well, that's Bob.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched it once I got off work. And I agree with you. I felt like it was very effective. If anything, like the clips, I was telling Karen right before this, the clips were like so well produced that I was like, I guess this is what took a year and a half. It's like the editing and the but also what struck me as funny. It isn't funny.
Imagine if they had like in the middle of it, there was just one of those, you guys probably don't even remember this, but one of those sheep wipes. Do you remember that at all? That was like an old video effect where to go from like this footage to the next clip of footage, a bunch of sheep shapes would fall into the screen, and it would just be a new clip of something else. Yeah.
Yes, I'm familiar with a star wipe. A page turn.
The gentleman from Ohio demands that we use a sheep wipe here.
And his name just bounces across the screen.
And there's a kitty meme for no reason, just to keep people's attention.
Can we use the Star Wars font at one point?
It just says Ohio in really big yellow letters going up.
But at the end, I thought it was kind of funny because they said like on the 13th, this is what we will talk about. And it truly was like on the next episode of the hearings. Like it was.
But I mean, that is where we are as a culture at this point. Is everything has to be packaged the right way for everybody, not just for the idiots who are never going to believe it, but for us too. Right.
Yeah.
Can't just go, you know what? Just start it and let it roll out. I need titles. I need captions. I need cut twos, cut back twos, all those things.
Because they aired it like prime time and on every major network. I feel like that's very notable. I hope it makes a difference. I don't know if it will, but
I think they've got to add confessionals.
Let's go. Let's watch The Masked Singer. Oh my God, this is a crazy mask. Who is it? I bet it's Rudy Giuliani.
There's no mask.
Anyway, that was my big day, was watching all that shit.
All right. I could go next, checking in. I actually got to leave the house this weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Smudgy, Jeff, and I went to Caltech in Pasadena just to sort of like walk around among, there's like
technology.
Yes, but there's also ponds and lily pads and turtles, and it's very peaceful. It's very serene. And Smudgy is terrified of lily pads, and I think it's because he fell in Echo Park Lake once. But he won't go near it. Even walking over like a little bridge, he's like, "Let's go fast! Let's go fast! Let's go fast!" Like it's
like every rope bridge in an adventure movie.
Yeah.
The next step corrects.
Right, and it's like 3 feet of a bridge, just like over the tiniest.
To be fair, at the Caltech pond, it's filled with alligators, correct?
Nothing I saw.
Yeah,
they're under the lily pads,
right?
But yeah, it was nice to get out of the house, and it's weird. It's weird out there. I feel like
even on campus, you felt like, I feel like that's like a little closed community. I mean, I don't know Caltech campus, but like when I'm at my school, I feel like like everyone here is of
we're on the
mindset.
same page.
Yes.
Right. No, I didn't feel weird about others. I felt weird about me. Like I was this like ogre coming out of my cage. I don't know.
You're just
holding your hand against the sun.
Reacclimating to society.
Yeah.
Did you make eye contact with people?
I did. I had to apologize about Smudgy barking at them quite a bit.
But they loved it and they thought he was cute.
Yeah, he's so cute.
I saw a thing the other day, huge argument on probably Twitter or Facebook or some other social media source. And it was about people keeping their dog on leash when they are hiking a trail. Mm-hmm. It was on Twitter. And somebody said, just a public service announcement, please keep your dog on a leash when you're out hiking, because I don't know your dog and I don't know how friendly they are or whatever. And people get furious about that stuff. How dare you?
Right.
How dare you tell me to keep my dog on a leash? My dog is so friendly.
If he's anything like you, I could only imagine.
Exactly.
He takes after me.
He is the friendliest.
He is calm when he encounters different opinions than his own, just like me.
He never gets angry. Never. But it was crazy to me how
I was out hiking, and there was a dude who was mountain biking with his dog on a leash.
Oh wow, that feels dangerous.
Well, and it turned out to be because
sorry,
it's spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler. That's not a great idea because the people were coming on the path the opposite way. There was a kid on a bike, and the
kids aren't good at controlling.
No good mobility. You're a child, and he and his dog have like a what is this called? Like garrote? It's just like a zip line across a garrote across the entire path. So she's riding towards, and the garrote is also riding towards her. And so she like had to dive into the woods and like clipped the dog a little bit.
Oh my God.
The dude was furious at the kid. And then
he should have been furious at the garrote.
He was not. He loved his garrote. But then we happened to be walking in the same direction he was going. So he turns to Ben and I and he's like, "Did you see that? That kid hit my dog." And we were like, "Yeah, kids," because we were scared of him.
You didn't know if he was going to come up behind you.
Mm-hmm. Garrote, yes.
Mm-hmm. We didn't stand up for the child, no.
That's not a good feeling to walk through the rest of the hike with,
No. Yeah. Were you on? Well, I guess he's on a bike.
We were on
so
our
he
way
might be
back.
going- Oh, okay.
Did you guys talk about that later? Did you go like, I'm not comfortable with how we left things with that guy with the garrote?
Oh, absolutely. We were like, that was wrong of us, and we would do it again. Couple of cowards.
Don't rock the boat.
I love it.
I will agree with whoever is next to me. I'll just be like,
I love it so much. Karen, I'm going to ask you to mini check in, but first I have a question for Sean. Did you go bird watching?
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not make it. As you suspected, I was up till 5 a.m. And so getting up at 6 was out of the question. And I've had the best of intentions several times since then, but for various reasons, I haven't been able to. Still have hopes. I think mid-June is the cutoff, so I have like
A couple
6 days. Yeah.
what's happening? There's supposed to be good birds now?
There's good birds. Yeah. I don't know if you heard about this. There's good birds.
But I'm sure even if you went off season,
You'd see like
you'd get some action.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to
Some
that
guy-
neighborhood in Duarte with peacocks?
No.
Have you seen the Pasadena parrots?
Oh, yes. But don't come up and try to attack you. I mean, if you want to see some good big birds.
Where are they? Uh-oh.
No.
This is
Where are
awkward.
they? This is
I hope that's her internet and not just that she's having a spasm.
No,
Maybe
I'm
she
just being thoughtful.
okay.
Oh,
Could you not rush me when I'm having a thought?
Sorry.
my bad.
You're formulating the most beautiful sentence of all time. No, go for
Yes.
it. Where are the birds?
Duarte. Peacocks. They're big. They're everywhere.
And they're just roaming?
They're roaming. They're beautiful dinosaurs, and they'll come right up to you and scare the shit out of you. They're huge.
I'll have to check it out. One of these days after I go bird watching. I'll go peacock watching.
But what birds are you trying to see?
Finch, cardinal, blue jay, hawk. No, I don't think you can. I don't think you can go.
Hawk.
I don't think you
I
can
saw
go
a
bird
hawk
watching.
in my neighborhood today.
Oh, really?
So
Were
you don't
you
need-
were you trying to see a hawk?
No, it was.
Yeah, I
sitting
think
on a
that's the thing.
telephone wire.
That's what I was
Oh.
going to say. Is you can't go out going. This is
Hawk.
the bird I want to see. Yeah, no, you can't do that.
Hawk, hawk.
I think the nature of bird watching is you go and you allow the experience to happen around you, as opposed to this is my intention.
They come to you.
Right. And so whatever
mean,
you
people-
see is what you see.
Like collecting stamps. I think people have bird books that they keep, and they want to see certain birds. They like check it off, and then they are finished.
Oh, I think this is what we were talking about last time, Amber, but there's a thing called a life list, which is where you write down every bird you ever see. And so certainly you can have hopes of like, I've never seen a red-bellied sap-sucking douchebag or whatever.
Sean.
Sorry, I just couldn't.
You're in the
I
wrong
couldn't
part of
come
the
up with the
country.
third part of the bird's name. But you can hope for it, but it's never. It's like whatever you see is what you see. It's what what you see is what you. When you get what you're getting, you see what you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, no, I have not been bird watching. Thank you for putting me on the spot like that. I failed.
That is not.
I am a
sorry that I
failure
took an
as a bird
interest
watcher.
in your life.
I'm a
It
failure
wasn't
as a
about
bird
calling
watcher.
you out.
Yes.
Anyway, Karen,
Oh,
what's going on with you?
I saw Stomp last night.
What? That's
Ooh.
still going on?
Yeah. I think it started in 1991, and they haven't stopped banging those trash can lids since.
Where was it?
The Pantages.
Nice.
But I get free tickets through my school, and I was like, this is not something that I would buy a
Seek
ticket
out.
to.
Yeah.
I get it. Brooms make noise. But it's free. It's happening. I'll go sit there. And I think my original thought was probably right. It was- you know how sometimes you like open yourself up to a new experience and you're like, yes,
I need
like
to be
I'm
open-minded.
so
Yeah.
and this was like, yeah, I kind of
No, I was
thought
right.
it was going to be this.
I think in 91, it was like, you know what?
It's
Nobody,
blowing people's minds.
yeah, like there's no way you could synchronize broom sounds and trash can sounds. No.
Never been done. Those are ordinary objects.
And then
Like
they did it.
most of the show was like there was like many different like pieces or songs, and each part started with them doing a mundane activity,
Of course. But it's like, hey, that sounds like something.
and then looking at each other and go, wait a minute, did that sound like music? And then the other person kind of getting involved, and then they're both doing, and like this is 7 songs in, and they're like,
And you're like,
wait a minute.
Stop being surprised.
And then there's a running joke through the whole thing where, you know, they're all like, boom, bada, boom, 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 like, oh, this is great. And then one guy would come on and he's dancing a little too hard. And then he
they
starts,
all go.
and yeah, but his instrument is smaller than everybody else's and makes a higher pitched noise. So they're like, boom, bada, boom. And he's like, boom, bada, boom. And they're like, huh? You're a lesser man.
And
we
that
all
happened
laughed.
every song. That
I mean, it was the joke.
Just picturing the guys who wrote that, people who wrote that musical, just going like, I've hit another wall, Bob. I don't know where to go from here. What if somebody comes in with a smaller broom? I mean, we've done that. Let's do it again. Well, I am at an impasse. Let's do it.
Breakthrough upon breakthrough upon breakthrough. I mean, the audience was digging it. I was just like, and I do say boys, but there's 2 female performers. But I feel like that they were like diversity band-aids instead of you know, getting the women's, you know, voice and perspective on making noises with ordinary objects. Like there could have been other ordinary objects, you know, a hairdryer.
What were? Give us some examples of what the objects were.
You
like
know, women's things.
Brooms.
Like,
I mean, I would say brooms. I would say brooms could be male or female.
Yes.
I would say they're almost more female.
Yeah,
In the sense
I would agree.
that they're associated with witches and
push brooms.
oh,
which is more of a janitorial thing.
Yes. I'm not saying that it was a very like male object heavy show, but I'm saying that we didn't have anything that was just for the ladies.
There was a crazy number where one guy came out and slapped his dick on the floor, and then they were like,
I mean, I think that was the whole show.
and the poor guy who had to come out with the little dick at the end of the number to get to the next part of the song. Bink, bink.
I saw that show in high school because there was a boy that I liked that I think liked me, and he was a drummer, and I was in theater, and it felt like
the
wow,
perfect
our
marriage of
worlds
worlds.
really colliding. And we both went, and we were like, not a very successful version of Ivan, like, or it's successeful, but it's
He
not
didn't like as a drummer.
I think he liked it fine, but like he likes like
Drums,
songs.
not brooms.
He likes songs. Yeah, this is an odd thing where it's not music and it's not quite dance. It's just almost a lot of different things.
Right.
What it is very creative.
Was there an intermission?
No,
Oh,
they blasted right through.
I
But
guess
it
it'd
was
be
an hour
hard
and
to
45
pick.
minutes.
Wow.
But the theater was very clean by the end. They had swept the shit out of it.
And loud.
And the garbage all had lids on it. All
Mm-hmm.
the garbage just had lids.
Mm-hmm. They had clean sinks, you know. They had done
Did they set it like you said? They set it up every time as just like mundane activity. So at the start of each, it was just like, oh, we're
trying to read the newspaper.
Oh, gotcha.
There was one where it started with a guy who was looking through a garbage bag. and the two women, this is where I was just like, I'm not sure if these were supposed to be female characters, but the two women came up, looked at him and went, yeah, and sat down with him and also started pulling things out of the garbage bag. And I was like, is this the female voice?
Well, it was also weird every time they read the newspaper with a broom. Like, why are you using a broom to read the newspaper? It doesn't make sense. It seems like you're forcing the broom in there.
Right.
Sweeping up them headlines.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I feel like this is a good place to take a break.
Whoa.
So we'll do that.
Holy shit.
And when we come back, we'll have something really special to talk about, something that people have been clamoring for.
Clamoring.
So let's do that. All right.
Clamoring!
All right, and we're back.
We're back.
This is Long Shot Podcast, and we teased doing this. We for a short time became a La Brea recap podcast, and
we thought about branding ourselves for a bit of a time there. Instead of just being America's favorite audio diary, we were going to become a strictly La Brea all the time podcast,
and
didn't last.
And I know some people at least have wanted us to get to the finale and talk about it.
Well, not only have some people wanted us to, but even a few weeks ago when the horrific shooting happened in Uvalde, Texas, and Amber was COVID ridden and I was by myself, and I just did a really depressing, like 3-minute version of the show where I was like, I don't want to talk about anything today. And somebody emailed us and was like, you guys should just talk about the last episode of La Brea. Like just,
it was a 14-year-old boy.
just to give us like something that wasn't horrible.
Something to latch onto.
Yeah.
And we're taking them up on it. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I know that I've watched a couple episodes of La Brea. In fact, all of the episodes of La Brea with Karen. Right?
Yeah.
Like watch parties together?
Watch parties together.
Oh man, I'm so jealous.
And
that's why
I feel like I watch
stoked.
so many weird shows and nobody I know watches any of them. So, I'm not a watch party person.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
What does the party entail? Is there like a La Brea bingo? Do you have special hors d'oeuvres for La Brea? Is there a drink that do you have to do shots at a certain point? I mean, what are the...
Yes, all 100%.
What are all the rules?
Are you sure you haven't been to our watch party?
No, Karen made us before we watched like the first episode together, or maybe the first two.
Well, I had watched the first episode before.
Okay.
Remember, because that's when I thought I was watching a sitcom.
Right.
Because I was taking the pilot class, and my boyfriend was like I was watching a bunch of comedy pilots to figure out how to do it. And my boyfriend was like, you want to watch a pilot? And I was like, great. And we turn it on and it's like Imagine Dragons, like, it's a beautiful day in California. And it's like sunny California. And these 3 people are in a car, like a mom and her 2
like
kids.
Traffic.
Like, oh boy.
Ever since I hurt my leg, Mom.
Well, I'm always late. I'm the late one.
Well, you're my mother and she's my sister, so here I am.
I'm flirting out of the car, and then the ground fell away.
Yeah.
Mass death and destruction as buildings that I knew collapsed into a hole. And I was like, what am I watching?
Love that. I wish.
Where's the laugh track?
Massive tone shift, and the tone has shifted steadily throughout. It's just,
I feel like the tone is the same. It feels like the genre might be changing.
Same tone, different genre.
Yeah.
Well, let's come back to the tone thing. But you still haven't told me the details of all the things that happen at these watch parties.
Okay.
Well, so then we regrouped to continue watching it, right? At my house. And before we started, Karen made us make bets about what we thought was going to happen in that episode.
Okay.
And we wrote it down. I might still even have that paper somewhere.
Some of these were brilliant ideas and would
make
have
a better
benefited the show.
Honestly. One of mine was that there's a prom episode.
I'm gonna miss prom down here. Small things to big things. Like I thought the Peterson Auto Museum fell in with them. And so I was like, they're gonna fix up an old car, like the Flintstones car or whatever, and they're gonna pull it out, or the Orville Wright's car, and they're gonna have to be tootling around in that because they used to run on corn oil and they can make that. But then that's
Orville Redenbacher's car.
Oh yes, they ran on corn pop. But then they just drove a normal car.
Right.
Like that didn't work, and then it did. And then they could drive to Santa Monica in it. But also just little things. Like I thought that there would be blazer changes for Eve, and that her hair would remain miraculously curled. You
were
stuff
right
like that.
on all accounts. Her hair stayed perfect. Like my hair doesn't look that good an hour after I do it. And she went into prehistoric times for what was the time period even that we were talking about?
10,000 BC. They say that a million times.
I know when.
Follow along,
10,000 BC, 1988.
It's been carbon dated.
2022.
But how long were they? Did the series
10,000 BC?
Was it a week? Was it a month?
It was 10,000 years.
Okay. All right.
Until
I think
Christ,
it happened. I think it happened. It was like 10 episodes. I think that all happened over the course of like 3 days, basically. Like there was never a time where they were like, well, it's been 2 weeks since
and they would
Dave set off into the woods. They would. Oh, absolutely.
But they do go on like 14-mile excursions.
You can do that in a day.
They're always saying we've been walking for hours. So if you add up all of those hours, I think you probably have about like 10,000 BC.
Makes sense.
But then a lot of my bets were I had a hard time because every time we watched the show, I would be pretty high. So I was like, I don't know. I don't remember what the characters are.
Who is this person?
Well, that was one of the problems I had because I watched the finale today and I have not seen the show in so long. And I was just like, I sort of remember a little bit. But I mean, there was another show that Stranger Things. I think I talked about this last week. I watched Stranger Things. Is it Stranger Things or Stranger Things? Whatever it is.
Stranger Things.
I watched the 4th season and I was like, it's been a while and I don't totally remember everything that happened last season. But they did do a decent job of, they had like a recap thing, I also, because I had forgotten the last episode, so I rewatched it today and had to write this down because the recap starts with, Isaiah is gabbing. There's a portal on the top of Mount Topanga that leads to 1988. If Ivan doesn't make it, your children will die. And I was like, what am I like? I knew none of these names. I remembered none of these things except for Topanga. And I was like, oh, this is the recap.
Well, here is my experience before we dive hardcore into the actual recap of this episode. Is we talked about doing this recap episode a while ago. So I rewatched the finale and took notes. And I'm looking through my journal. It was in March. And so today was gonna maybe try to rewatch it, but I was very busy. And
March of 1988, by the way.
Correct. 10,000 years ago. I was kind of busy. And I also was like, there's so much in this world, in this life. I don't know if I can, in good conscience, watch this finale for the third time.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should have if you did, because
I didn't. So I have my notes from March. Mm-hmm. I'm going to depend on both of you who had recently watched it.
And I watched it like 5 hours ago, so I barely remember it.
I think my notes will be funny because I won't know what they fully mean and we can parse them out together. Anyway, I think between the three of us, we could have a great
woolly mammoth threesome. What does that?
I wrote the worst notes. It just says the first note is just Topanga.
I mean, that's all you need. That is
the second one is 1988.
I don't know how well.
Can I tell you something about that? Which is, I have to watch a lot of TV shows for the classes that I teach. Mm-hmm. And this is what happens every time. Because I'm like, I have the same class watching the same episodes, but at different times. So I'm like, I only have to watch it once and then I'll take notes. And then the notes are just gibberish. They're nothing. They're just a word. Yeah. I got man on screen, That's not helping me.
It's tough. It's tough to make notes on a show while you're watching it too, because that's the other thing. Like, I'm not like writing an essay about
you're not summarizing what just happened.
Yeah.
You're just going, Topanga.
Topanga. This face.
Well, just to be clear, the episode starts and they're trying to get to Topanga so they can get into the light for some reason.
Right. Urgently trying to get to Topanga.
Because there's a time portal that's going to open up there.
To 1988. That they know for sure. Everyone knows everything for fucking sure.
Right.
And how?
I don't remember. That's one of the problems.
Because Gavin is Isaiah and his flashes are memories.
The truth. Yeah.
Now, here's my question about all these characters. Mm-hmm. Is we're in this time travel thing, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody is somebody else, and they're all like, somebody is this guy is this guy's other thing.
Hoping is by the end there's only like 2 actual characters, and it's all just different time.
There's a show called Dark on Netflix, which does an amazing job with that. Yeah. But this show, it's kind of like, because what I decided during this episode, maybe you guys already knew this. I did not. I was not aware of this. During this episode, I was like, oh, the little kid is the grandfather. They're the same person. Like the kid, he keeps calling him grandpa, I love you, and all that shit. I'm like, those two, it doesn't make any sense for them to be the same person.
Right.
But they have the same exact haircut.
And in 10,000 years, you can't change your haircut. That's
like, why would they have the exact same haircut if they're not the same person?
Also, but I think it will turn out that way. It hasn't yet, because Isaiah is Gavin, the little
which
boy
would mean that the old man is Gavin too. But why would he
But in the future to the past, because it turns out this was all a mistake, and he's trying to undo it. But
something
very
bad happened
passively.
Ultimately. Yeah.
I also wrote that. Wait,
real quick on Dark, like, because you had mentioned Dark, and Dark is such a great, like, they have this core thesis in Dark of you're fucked if you do, you're fucked if you don't. That time is what it is. Whatever happened, whatever will happen, will happen. Like there is no changing.
Oh yeah, this is the opposite, where it's like we have to do this to
and. Yeah, this one has no opinion on time at all, except that it happened. Like in this version of time,
except if Isaiah doesn't make it back. Like,
right.
This is what I was thinking of. Is the Back to the Future thing where Michael J. Fox is disappearing from the picture.
Yeah, they do that. Instead of that,
it's the 2 kids going, "Ow, I'm dying!
Elbow!"
They're getting cramps.
They were both dying because Isaiah might not make it through the time portal. So instead of the photo disappearing, it was just them being in more and more pain over the course of the episode. Like,
but
I'm so sick.
I'm mad that their opinion of time is that it is like folded on itself. Like there are many like it's like, like time is a plane, and then it's like been folded with a hole that's poked through 2021 to 10,000 BC, and then there's another fold that goes to 1988. Because like all of these things are happening at the same time, except when it's convenient for the plot for them not to happen at the same time.
Right.
In which case, like when she wrote the letter in the bottle earlier in the episode, in the season, she wrote like the portal closed tonight, or like it's closing. And then he's reading it. He discovers the bottle before she, in this timeline, buries it.
Right.
So at this point, he's seeing into the future of that time. So they're not quite aligned.
It's not an elegant show.
This is right now. I'm picturing Karen in the writer's room of this show saying all this, and the people in charge are like, Jesus fucking. Can we
dinosaurs?
It's a fucking network show. Who cares?
I mean, but if you want, that's the other thing. It's like they introduced all of these. Like, why 10,000 BC?
Well, and it was so specifically 10,000 BC. Everybody kept saying it over and over again.
It's like they really wanted woolly mammoths. They wanted giant sloths, and they wanted to not ever deal with them again.
Oh, like but that's what that is what it was. I just remembered this because we talked about this long ago. It was because of the camels they found in the La Brea tar pits.
Right, that's when they died.
That the one guy could go, what you got to understand is that these camels are 10,000 BC, but these also side with two tigers. So they could spend a little money on shitty digital effects,
right? But
also have real animals at the same time, like cows that turn out to have serial numbers.
But why? Like, why do they want to go to 10,000 BC? Because like episode 1 is like, okay, oh shit, we're in the past. We're gonna have to deal with this megafauna. We might encounter like Homo sapiens. We might have culture clashes with like people that live at this time. And none of that occurs.
Yep.
In fact, every single person that they meet down there,
they're like, I'm from
English.
Well,
like,
except somehow in this episode, I don't know how this happened, but Grandpa all of a sudden has a bunch of thugs hanging out with him. Like there's all these dudes that are just like, they're dressed like the guy who stormed the Capitol with the horns on his head. And they're all holding spears and bows and arrows, which again, if I had more time on my hands, I would point out the technical inaccuracies of the development of bows and arrows in 10,000 BC versus whatever. But then you would have to say like, oh, Grandpa introduced that because Grandpa is Gavin and Gavin is Isaiah. Isaiah is Gavin.
Right.
Gavin is Grandpa. So,
well, then also, why doesn't the La Brea tar pit have like human bones and fucking cars and shit if the present day keeps sinking into it?
Right.
I mean, that's such an interesting perspective that, okay, you send these people back in time. How does that fuck with the entire timeline of like the evolution of man and like the development of capitalism? Nah.
You're talking about the butterfly effect, like, you know,
nothing.
It only affects people very personally. Ooh, my tum-tum.
Well, okay, so this is a note that I wrote, and I stand by it. I'll just read it word for word, and then we can discuss. So many people die, but they're all so invested in ensuring that main character wavy hair lady's kids survive. Like, and I get that like he is Gavin and Gavin is like whatever, but like people are sacrificing themselves so that those two kids can live.
Right.
Because
they just want their lives to have meanings, I guess. I don't know. I will say those were the two moments that I laughed out loud during the entire episode. The first was because it's the cop mother and the drug addict son, right? And
a drug dealer. He doesn't do.
Whatever.
Don't get high on your own supply.
You get involved with that shit. It's a gateway. Dealing is a gateway to using.
Sure.
You tell him.
So I forget exactly how it happened, but whatever. There's a guy coming at him with a spear or something, and she shoots the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't stop him. He keeps coming. He comes at her. Eventually, my old pal from the gym shoots him. Shows up just in time. The guy who's fucking Gavin's wife behind Gavin's best friend who's fucking his wife behind his back.
Sure.
Which the kid found out about and is very upset and
way more upset about that than being in 10,000 BC.
Right. So he kills that guy, but it's too late. She's been stabbed.
Right.
She's been stabbed. And she's like, I'm fine. Let's go. We got to go. We got to save these kids. That's what this whole show is about, is saving these kids by getting.
But that's what I'm saying. Why does that
Isaiah
character care about saving those kids so much?
But then somehow they become split up, and it's just the mother and the son walking, and he turns around and he's like, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "I'm fine. I'm just a little dizzy." And then he turns back around, and she immediately flails backward and faints dead out. And I belly laughed so loud. Like, it was such a crazy out of nowhere thing, because up till then she was totally fine. Then she falls down. So then he's like, I got to carry. So he's trying to carry her to the light, which they don't even have anybody else with them at this point. So I don't know why it's important for them to get there. They're not planning to leave in the light, or maybe they are. Maybe that's what it was. They were trying to go back to wherever the fuck to.
I think they wanted to deal drugs in 1988 when it was, hot commodity.
Right. The start of the crack epidemic. He could have made a fortune.
Butterfly effect.
But so then that was the other. So anyway, then she's like, I can't go anymore. And she's like lying. Don't you go without me. And just so you know, I love you. And then she just goes,
A single tear rolls out her eyes. She closes her eyes and she's dead.
It was just a hilarious death scene. Like,
but
by a character that we don't even like. That's one of the problems, is there's no character development. So why do we care about any of these people?
Right.
But her death speech was such a perfect mom death speech.
Yeah.
Honey, get a better job. That's what my mom will say on her deathbed.
I'm proud of you. I love you.
Do better.
Is that what you're wearing?
You got a little schmutz in your eye.
Here's another weird that. There's just things that I didn't totally understand, and I feel like it would have.
I think it all made complete sense. So that's on you.
It probably would have made more sense if I had watched all the episodes leading up to this recently, but I haven't seen them in 6 months or whatever. But they all go to, like, they get the entire city of Seattle evacuated because there's a sinkhole is going to open up. Right. And they're like, we got to get everybody out of here. And
I was like, I can speak from experience. Populations don't comply that well.
Right. But also what's so funny is the way it's written is hilarious, because the guy she goes, how are we going to get everybody evacuated from Seattle? And the guy goes, Gavin goes, I don't know that we can, but I think I know someone who might. Commercial, like cliffhanger. Oh shit, what's going to happen next?
Who's he know?
And it's the enemy guy who's been trying to thwart him at every turn, who then he says, you got to evacuate all this. So then we come back to the scene between the two of them, and the guy, just because we're not quite making the connection necessarily, they come back and the guy goes, wait a minute. You're telling me you want me to evacuate the entire population of Seattle because a sinkhole is coming there? Like, recap everything that happened right before the commercial. And the best part is he goes, I'm putting my whole career on the line if I do this. Like, What?
You know, if you evacuate a city and
nothing
there is
happens,
devastating loss of life.
You're fired,
You're
and you're never getting another job because that goes on your permanent resume. You have to write then on your resume under special skills, capable of evacuating everybody in non-emergency situations with no problems. You know.
So it says here, you had a false evacuation. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah, I don't know how to say more about it except that I got everybody out of town and then everything was fine. So it seems like it worked out.
How do you think that would affect your job here at Kinko's?
Well, I'll tell you this much. We need to start getting everybody out of here.
No one came in today, so.
Well, then I did my job and I didn't even have it yet. But this is what I was going to say is, so they go to Seattle, they get rid of everybody from town, which you can tell because you see a shot of like 4 people walking and then a fire truck. So you know that everybody's been evacuated.
It's a pretty big city, but
that is very expeditious filmmaking. Is like, we got to get everybody out of here. Fire truck, 4 people walking. Okay, they're gone. Everybody's gone. Yeah.
I mean, but that's classic La Brea. Like, how are we going to get to Santa Monica? It's not like we can just drive on the 10. Okay, we're here in Santa Monica.
Right.
But then there's a problem because the map starts disappearing. This is where the Michael J. Fox photograph comes in, that they're like, well, what's going on with the map? The map is disappearing.
Ouch, my elbow.
Right. She falls against the car.
My manicure's disappearing.
But like the way you're saying that is way more emotionally invested than she was.
I know.
She is like a block of wood with a mouth, you know.
But she does want to fuck her dad. That is the one emotion she has.
And she never says anything without starting it with daddy.
Daddy. Don't tell me it's gonna be okay. You can't say that.
You don't know. Right. But so she falls against the car. They're in the wrong place. They flip the map over, and somehow the other side of the map says that they got to go to the camping area. Like, that's where the sinkhole's going to be. Like, we just looked at the wrong side of the map. It says,
turn it over.
Yeah. Go to the camping area. So then they're going and they have to evacuate the camping area. And there's people kayaking and they're like, get out of the water.
There were more extras in that scene than any other part of Seattle.
Yeah, way more people in the woods than there were in the city of Seattle.
And then I feel like the sinkhole at this point is like the Stomp sinkhole. You know, it's like the little one. And there they go.
Yes. But also, why did they have to be at the sinkhole? Because the sinkhole opens up and then they're just like, okay, there it is. There's the sinkhole. And I know ultimately they all decide that they got to jump in. But why were they even there in the first place? That's the part I didn't understand. Like, once they're there and they go, you know what? I left somebody in 1988. I left somebody in 1972. I left somebody in 10,000 BC. I'm jumping in. You're not jumping in without me. I'm going with you, Daddy. Daddy, I'm going with you. You can't tell me it's going to be okay.
Daddy.
And then they all jump into the sinkhole. But there was no reason for them to be there in the first place. Nothing came out of the sinkhole. And they didn't go in. It just opened. So why were they there?
The map?
Yeah, I mean, they were
I don't want to get
being
stuck on it. I'm just saying.
Evacuating, but they didn't need to be there to evacuate. They're just like wandering around the evacuation site. Like, we also agree you should evacuate.
So they were just saving the city of Seattle and then saving the people in the campsite.
Right.
I think I started as a rescue mission.
Okay. That I'm going to have to let that fly because it doesn't totally make sense, but that's the best we can do.
And I don't fully remember, and we might not even have this answer until season 2, but do they land in Seattle or do they land in
they land on a beach?
Los Angeles. So that could be Seattle.
Yeah, but not the campsite. I mean, when they fell through La Brea, they fell like down into the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
Oh, because you had mentioned fire truck, Sean. I watched the first episode again to like get the bookends of the season.
Smart.
And I saw the ambulance that
Hollywood
went
Fire
in.
Department. Yeah.
But the ambulance that went in is not the ambulance that they found. The ambulance that went in was just a good old classic red ambulance with no hills drawn on the back.
Well, that's what happens when you
Oh
shoot the
my
pilot and then you're shooting the full series.
It got greenlit too
there's
early.
a continuity error, like. Did somebody ever go back and check that ambulance to make sure? I'm sure it's
No one
fine.
gives a
It's
shit.
fine.
People know. The ambulances just have pictures of the locations that they're from on them.
What are we catering to the long shot
And
podcast?
Los Angeles famously has 2 hills that are notable
Yes.
by being.
But I think it said, if I remember correctly, it said Hollywood Fire Department on it.
Yes, which
didn't
is
it?
not a thing.
Yeah.
But when they fell through the La Brea sinkhole, they went into
directly down.
through time and not temporal movement.
Correct.
In this one, he was at
temporal, not
yes, temporal,
geographical.
not geographical. Yes. So this one, they went back through time because there was a woolly mammoth that was just slunking around that beach.
God,
But-
they spent more money on that 15 seconds of woolly mammoth than they spent on the rest of the season combined, I think.
Good.
That was amazing.
It was a good woolly mammoth. Yeah, but they moved some amount, even if it's Seattle.
I wonder if there was anybody on that show who felt like they should have been getting paid more. And then they found out how much money they spent on the woolly mammoth. And they were like, what the couldn't it have just been a fucking cow like in the other shots we did?
With a cereal.
And I could have gotten, because my first writing job in television, I'm sure I've talked about this before. My first writing job in television, on my first day of work, I was teamed up with another writer I had never met before. And we were suddenly a writing team, which meant that we were splitting our salary for the entire season.
Fun.
So that was a way for the production to save money. It's against union rules. And I don't know if anybody still does it, but at that time, people used to do it all the time, just because it was a way to hire 2 writers for the price of 1. Like, hey, you're sharing an office with your new writing partner. And I, of course, was like,
sure, a job.
yeah, whatever. And it was more money than I'd ever made in my life, even up till now, half the salary. But that during the season, we wrote in an arc that involved a robot. So there was a live action robot that one of the characters won in a poker game. And the robot ended up being in 3 episodes. And in my memory, the amount that we paid for the robot for those 3 episodes was like $50,000 just to be there for 3 episodes, which was probably 2/3 of my salary for the entire season. And it was just so funny. I mean, I don't think I was like storming around going, what the fuck? But we just thought it was hilarious that they were perfectly willing to blow this huge amount of money on this fucking robot that really was sort of inconsequential. Like, we didn't need the fucking robot.
Almost as a joke.
Yeah. And
You're like, I could have written a cat.
Right. And so I'm sure there's some element of this show where it's like, we could have had nice craft services, but instead we got the woolly mammoth, know?
I bet they had good crafty back there.
Well, it's a network
these writers
show,
ate.
So they do have a good budget for that. So
I have another quote that I don't know which character said it. I don't know in what scene. But I'm hoping you guys could help fill it in for me. And I think, anyway, I watch a lot of sci-fi, and there's always a character like you.
This is Stoner Scott.
You're not even
speaking.
saying it right. The way he says it is,
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of sci-fi, and there's always a character like you, and they're always evil. That's how he says it.
Yes, this is right before Dr. Rebecca Aldridge says he won't. She's not going to tell him where, but she's going to take Scott somewhere. She's got to show him something, him specifically. Mm-hmm. And then takes him to a field where we see a
What is it? A rocket? I couldn't even tell what it was.
No,
It's an office building.
A condo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess land prices are really expensive back in 10,000 BC. They had to build up. But they brought construction cranes and they built their science building. So
there's clearly some kind of laboratory in that
There's
place,
like a civilization.
Because she goes, this is what you need to see. And then they see it. And then didn't she say something like, and this is not all, there's more you need to see.
It's like, just
and
show
then
me all right
we didn't see anything else, because season 2, we'll see what else there is.
Well, and
all the time portals they have inside the time portal.
Right.
I feel like I'm remembering this right, but you all correct me. But the Gavin little kid grandpa guy was like, it's my fault for the sinkholes. But then also that lady who showed the condos was like, it's my fault. And they
were science partners.
They
were science partners, yes.
You're saying they were lab partners?
Yeah, they got assigned in lab. You're like, oh, you stinky.
Oh,
you wear too many furs.
I got this fucking idiot.
Our science project got out of hand.
I told you we should have done the volcano.
Yes. So she feels guilty about it and is going back to try to rectify and or build condos, whereas he's gone like full fur to the wind and decided to live down there.
It is weird. I'm thinking now about my idea about the two of them having the same haircut, but why then does Gavin have a different haircut? Like, if you're going to do that,
say is the kid and Gavin look nothing.
No. He's a little
they like went out of their way to make them
button-nosed blonde boy. I wonder if it turns out that he's not Gavin.
Kid has no beard. Gavin has a beard.
But he's like a very sharp featured, like dark haired. I mean, when I look back at pictures of me when I was 7, I unfortunately look exactly the same, you know? Like, this is the face. My question for the group is, okay, is Josh a feminist icon? He is.
First of all, who's Josh?
Yeah, which
Josh. Yes, he is. He's the son. He's
the one who's in so much pain because he's disappearing, like Michael J. Fox.
He is the constant damsel in distress.
He was in 10,000 BC.
Oh yes, he was the first one that fell down the sinkhole of the people that we care about. You know, besides the crossing guard. And so that's why mom fell in after.
She jumped in after him. The daughter failed because she's a fucking loser.
That's why.
I get it.
Mom was
I
like,
get it.
let go. And she's like, no.
Right.
But
so is Josh a feminist icon?
Immediately gets attacked by a wolf. He's taking the place of the hot girl that needs to be saved all the time.
He has to keep being saved. He's the damsel.
But he's straight, white, able-bodied boy in a family of women and
disabled,
and differently abled persons. But he's the one who's like, Mama, please.
I guess that's a feminist icon. Yeah.
Or he's a baby who needs mothering.
Well, yeah. And there was weird scenes. Didn't he have to like confront the little boy who actually was his dad?
No, they just go walking through a cave together. And he's like, when you grow up, you're going to be pretty cool.
Gross.
You're going to kiss that lady and make a me.
Yes. And that was also, I mean, that's another funny whole sequence of like, there is a shortcut, but it's filled with traps, but it's through the caves. You have to go through. And then it's just basically a ladder that doesn't hold. Like that's the trap.
Yeah. You might, there are locals that live here and they are very protective.
Yes.
We won't see them.
They're protective of their privacy.
But I mentioned them.
Mhm.
No, we don't meet them. And it's so funny that they get to the ladder that goes straight up the mountain into Topanga.
It's the only obstacle. There's just
It's
one ladder.
It's like a 14-foot ladder that they have to climb.
It looked like a rope ladder and stone cave from like a Nickelodeon show in the 90s.
Yeah, it's like the aggro crag.
Like I was waiting for them to get hit with
slime.
Yeah.
But then at the bottom of the ladder is their old nemesis, tar pits.
Yes.
It's like there is not a tar pit inside the mountain of La Brea or of Topanga. There just isn't. But they had to put it there to like make it connect to the title.
Yeah.
What if I fall in this tar? I'm done for.
Well, and so then she makes it almost all the way up before the ladder falls apart. But luckily I never know when the ladder is about to collapse and somebody's like, grab my hand. I never know. Are they going to be able to grab that person's hand or not? Like, are we just going to see this person die on a collapsing ladder, or are they going to grab their hand?
What a moment it would have been. What symmetry it would have been if the son was holding her hand and she was dangling into the pit and she was like, let go. And he was like, I'm not doing that, Mom. Like that she had to learn.
What do I look like? My loser fucking sister?
Wow. Well, and they didn't fall into that tar pit, right?
No one even got, a fleck of tar on them.
Because I kind of wanted them to and then go to like a different time. You know what I mean?
Well, we don't know. We don't know, because that was the other thing that I thought was hilarious is the little girl. So we haven't even talked about the bear trap.
Right. Oh, and my favorite actor.
Yeah.
I looked her up on IMDb. Her character name is Veronica, but her real name is Lily. But then the little girl in the scene is named Lily. So every time she's acting, she's calling her own name to the other person.
And her real name is Anastasia. So it just gets very confusing. But so she gets caught in a bear trap, and it's the same thing. It's like, you can just leave me here. I'm going to chew my own foot
I'm going to die,
eventually.
but you have to go save those other
Isaiah. Well, she has to bring the map to. Doesn't she have to bring the map to Isaiah or something like that? This is what
I'm saying. Everyone is more invested in those two kids' lives than their own family. Like, why?
But
they approached breaking open that bear trap in this stupid. She's like trying to hit the chain that is attached to the claw instead of prying open the claw. They're like, you'll get free. You'll still have a claw on your leg.
Right. And then because what happens always with those things is eventually you get gangrene and you have to decide whether to amputate or not. And then you don't amputate. And then that blood poisoning spreads to that's ultimately how bears are killed in the wild. Is
that true?
Allowing them to develop gangrene and blood poisoning and letting them die over a period of about 2 or 3 weeks.
That's horrible.
Makes them tasty.
No, that's not. You trap them with that thing, then you shotgun them in the head. That's how you kill a bear.
That's very American.
Yeah. But again, I did not totally follow what was going on with bringing that map to the little kid. I got to get him the map because I don't know why, whatever. But it was such a funny moment when she runs up to the little, and the light is like disappearing.
Yeah, it's
almost gone. Oh, well, we're never going to get out of here. We're stuck here. And this is 10,000 BC. It's not 1988. We're stuck here forever. I'm never going to get Isaiah the map. And then all of a sudden the light goes and just eats like 3 people all at the same time.
I think that's when we watched it for the first time, Karen, we all stood up and were like,
And who was it? It was a little girl, the boy, right? Josh? Doesn't Josh disappear?
Josh. Mm-hmm.
Just the two of them?
No, and a third.
His
grandpa?
Girlfriend?
Oh, the girlfriend. Because they were probably all up on each other. The girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. They were like deep.
Oh, yeah. Because she was like, it's time for us to go back to camp. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I would have, with my little map, I would have just stuck it into the time portal and dropped it. Like she didn't even try. Like how could you tell?
And somebody in 1988 would have been like, "Hey, a map.
Relax, go to it."
I mean, how little Isaiah already has roller skates on and is twirling around.
That's the other thing that's weird about these things is like when it's supposed to be the distant past and you're so familiar with that, I've been watching this other show. Have you guys heard of the show Hunters on Amazon?
No.
Mm-mm.
It is basically a group. It's a wild show with an all-star cast. Al Pacino plays an elderly Jewish survivor of World War II who is working with a group of other Jewish, well, I shouldn't say that. There's a couple of Jewish survivors and then
some Nazis. There's got to be some Nazis.
An Asian guy who knows karate and a black woman with a gigantic afro, and they're all hunting Nazis in the 1970s. It's all about
that's kind of fun.
Hunting Nazis. But one of the things they figure out very early on, they're trying to figure out this code stuff. And they realize that it's leading to, it all takes place in 1977. So they crack the code, and the code says July 13th, 1977. So something is going to happen on July 13th, 1977. Now, July 13th, 1977 was my birthday. So I know exactly what happened on July. There was a blackout in New York City. First of all, Son of Sam was roaming the city, murdering people. Sure. They have not acknowledged that yet. Second of all, there was a blackout that weekend. And I'm just interested to see, like, are they going to cause the blackout? Are the Nazis going to cause the blackout? Is the blackout going to be done so that the Nazis can infiltrate some bank somewhere and steal money or whatever? And so I'm like, it's a little bit of a spoiler that I know exactly what is going to happen in this show. But then again, it's funny to watch Al Pacino be an elderly Jewish man. He's very elderly and Jewish. He can't believe that he survived all this time, and he's trying. We can't let these Nazis get away with what they're trying to get away with. So anyway, that'll be our next.
Okay.
Project.
Watch party.
But what I was going to say about La Brea is, if we were going to do a thing where you had to do shots every time something happened, the way you do. For me, it would be every time somebody in a scene talks about somebody who's not there. Because that is 90% of the dialogue is like Lily and Ariana Grande or whoever the fuck she's with is like, it's like, but we got to make sure Isaiah knows if he goes up to the mountain to the light, then he gets back to 1988. And then we cut to Isaiah and he's like, but where are Lily and Ariana Grande? We need to make sure they get here by the time we get to the light. Because otherwise, like everybody's
their next immediate goal is the entire topic of conversation. And
involving people who aren't there. Yes. We have to make sure Gavin knows that Isaiah is him, because otherwise he'll figure out that the light isn't where the sinkhole is supposed to be by the campsite. And then they won't be able to jump in and land in Santa Monica when they ultimately get through to 10,000 BC.
But watch out for the tar.
I also, it's just funny that the three time periods we're dealing with are 10,000 BC, 2021 and 1988. Like, it just,
I would have liked it more if it was like 10,000 BC, 2020 and 2021. Like, make them look right next to each other.
6 months earlier.
Yeah.
I can't go back 6 months earlier. I'm my own father now. If I was doing shots, I would also now know to do shots every time they didn't believe Scott and assumed that he was high on marijuana and therefore hallucinating.
Yes.
It's like the writers have never smoked pot in their life, and they're like, this is the one that makes you see cows, right?
Oh, but also I'm an interesting character because I come from a different background from everybody else. I was trying to get my master's degree in paleontology, which is why I knew the La Brea tar pits have camels in them. These are the camels from the La Brea tar pits.
And zoom out, he's alone. He's talking to the cow.
He's hallucinating.
Why do you have a serial number, cow?
He's the character that always references like this is like Lost, this is like sci-fi. Like he's the one who's really the most meta of them all.
He's the what's the guy's name in Community?
Oh, Abed.
He's the Abed, yeah. Because he's always like, this is like this show. By the way, I just noticed that I wrote down what the dying mother right before she closed her eyes. You know what she said? Make something of yourself. Promise me.
Eat something.
Clean your sink.
Make something of yourself. Promise me. Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to season 2. I can't wait.
Watch party, Sean. You're invited.
Do we know when season 2 is coming on?
I don't. I have a relationship with the show because I work at NBC Universal and I watched the upfronts. So I saw the like trailer for this.
For season 2.
No, for season 1. Very, very early on. And I remember being like, it looks like a joke show on 30 Rock. Like, how is this real? So I was very jealous of you, Karen, for not knowing that it was bad dinosaurs.
Do you guys remember that saber-toothed tiger from
like
one of the first episodes? And how it just was like a gray digital blur, like
and didn't come back. Like all of
it had like the little Apple logo spinning in the middle of it.
But yeah, all of these creatures, like in theory, should have been threats the whole time, but they're all like.
But no, they just moved past.
Right. They don't come back.
They've got walkie-talkies. They've got cars. They've got heroines. They've got two airplanes.
And they don't even talk about it. Like, they're not like, we got to be careful because there's a saber-toothed tiger out there. Yeah. They're just like, we got to make sure Isaiah knows that Gilbert gets the light before
my mom
Donna.
Is having sex with that guy.
Right.
Like, they should have been riding a giant sloth into battle at some point. You know, like, use your space.
1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
Like a very slow
season 2. There's still time to, because I feel like season 2 is when they go, you know what? We've got a hit on our hands. Let's pump some more money into it.
We're going to see 1988, right?
I would assume
we have to.
Oh, yes. We're going to see like little Gavin meet little Eve and be like, I see what I was going for. No, you don't think?
Or little Gavin with older Eve and like a weird, we got to do this. We got to make these kids. Otherwise, we're going to die.
And of course, her name's Eve. You know, like his name should be Adam. Like, let's be full on the nose about it.
Well, Gavin. Perfect. Gavin.
Mm-hmm. It's Gavin and Eve. But I think we'll definitely we'll go into that laboratory. We'll go into that combo complex.
Oh yeah. There's gonna be like a Starbucks in the lobby. Yeah.
We're gonna see they have in their portals and sinkholes to every other time period, and I think we're gonna go to the 1600s, and I think we're gonna go.
Why would you not do stuff like that?
Right.
Well, once you introduce the idea of time travel,
they don't have the budget for costumes. Like, that is why we're staying. Like,
that's why a wardrobe truck fell into the sinkhole with them. But just had other sweaters.
Look, they went to Seattle. They showed that they were evacuating Seattle by having 4 people walk by and showing a fire truck. So they could show the 1600s just by having somebody like just a flash of somebody holding a lute, you know?
Right.
It's like Yes, they don't have a huge budget for these things.
They
You
hold
don't
up a
need
cell
a
phone and be like, "It's your cousin Marvin. Listen to this." Ding, diddling, ding, 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 ding.
You might not like it now, but someday you're going to think it was terrible.
Your kids are going to study it in music theory class.
Someday it's going to be played really loudly all night long in front of a 7-Eleven to keep the homeless away.
Here's what I think is going to happen in the next season. They're going to go into the condo where the labs are. There's going to be one assistant who works there because you can't have a lab without scientists always have assistants. The assistant is going to be super nerdy with glasses
and a ponytail,
lab coat, and a bun. I think a bun, not a ponytail. It's going to turn out she's so fucking hot.
Yeah.
And has just a body for days.
And she likes smoking pot too, or something like that. Like,
right. And he is going to be like, "Oh, can't believe this is more.
There's always a character like that."
Yeah, right.
And then when he takes off
he's
those
have
pants,
a new girlfriend. Yeah.
One leg. What?
Daddy?
Izzy is her own father.
I think that is tricky. Like that time travel shit, you got to pay attention to so much stuff.
And they aren't.
No, I know. I mean, that's what I mean. Like,
well, I think also that somehow through all this time traveling, Ty, the therapist who was going to suicide himself,
trying to kill himself.
well, now he has something to live for. We forgot to talk about him. He
fell in love, right?
This is the other thing I love is that everybody gets overcome by their pain at some point, but then they get up and they're fine. Like the kid is dying because he's disappearing because his father isn't going to make it into the light. His father, who's now 9 years old, younger than he is, isn't going to make it into the light. So he's disappearing and he's like, "I can't move. And they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Let's keep going. We got to get to the light.
And Ty is like,
guy, he's like,
"My brain tumor hurts.
Oh God, I can't go any farther." And she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's keep going. Come on."
And she goes, I'm sorry. And he's like, yeah.
She's like, "You should," but that was what I mean, he's making a choice. She's like, "You should go back to 1988 because they can there's treatments, there's things they can do for your brain thing."
Well, good end of life care. But I think he's going to find brain cancer
some plant. Yeah.
In the condo. That's why they came back to prehistoric times before pollution ruined all the plants that's caused
cures. There's a cure for cancer, but it's been gone for 5,000 years because the camels who ended up in the tar pits ate it. But he's there before that, so he's going to get cured and he's going to live happily ever after with that lady who, I don't know if she's from the past or the future. Like, where is she from? How does she fit into all this?
I don't know. And somewhere in the middle.
She's involved with the grandfather somehow, right?
She speaks great English. That's her second language. She did great.
And the cows got there.
They're from the lab.
Sinkhole.
I think
a light portal.
I think they were brought there to be tested the pasty cancer treatments on. That's why he's got a little serial number on.
Right, because cows are what they always use in science labs to test
famously
out
because they're so small and
closest in DNA.
Can the cow make it through this maze and get the cheese at the end? That kind of thing.
Exactly.
Pavlov's cows they always talk about.
All right, I feel like we did it. We've recapped the show. I don't know if we made any sense, but it was like perfectly on par with the show itself.
Yes.
A little all over the place, a little scattered, but a lot of
I thought you were going to say it was perfectly on brand for our show.
Yeah, well,
that is also applicable. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, Karen, thank you.
I just love talking about it, so I appreciate.
Very much. I can't wait till our season 2 watch parties.
I know. You got to bring the cupcakes. Karen, where can people find you?
You can follow my Insta at Karen Baughn. You can watch American Christmas on Showtime.
Oh,
And
yes.
if this comes out before June 27th, then you can buy tickets to the Herald Experience at the Brick House Theater and see some improv.
Wow.
What would you experience if you went to that?
Herald?
Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know what that means.
I think you do.
Sean, do you have anything to plug, or do you just want to say goodbye?
Yeah, you can check out my MySpace at I'm always looking for a new top 8. I am doing improv shows this weekend, so I'm excited about that.
That's awesome.
We'll see how that goes. But no, I have nothing to plug. Twitter.
Same.
My Twitter at Sean Conroy. It's great. I post at least once every 7 or 8 days, and it's usually just something like "fuck that guy."
It's just a frowny emoji.
Totally worth following. Totally worth following.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Karen. This was so fun. And like, subscribe, tell your friends.
Click that like button down below. Listen for that bell. Get that
smash.
Oh, fuck. God damn it.
Toggle that like button, everybody.
All right. Goodbye.